Okay, so has anybody ever heard of the gum called Up to You? Well, it's a pack of gum, and there are like 2 different flavors in it, so it's up to you to choose which flavor you want. And so that's where they got the name from. And so I got this idea from an article I read on the internet, and so this gum is kind of similar to life because we make choices every day, and because of our free will that God gives us, and so it's up to us. And so the verse that I chose today is Joshua 24:15. And a little background: Joshua's talking to a large crowd with a lot of high-ranking people in Israel, and along with a lot of other people. And he says, "Choose for yourselves today who you will worship. As for me and my family, we will worship the Lord." And so many other characters in the Bible are faced with similar decisions. The first one being Isaiah, and this verse is Isaiah 6:8. "Also I heard the voice of the Lord, saying, Whom shall I send, and whom will go for us? Then I said, Here I am, send me." So Isaiah chose to obey God, and he chose to go wherever God asked him to. Even though Isaiah didn't really know what was going to happen, he chose to obey. And so another one is Daniel. And this verse is Daniel 1:8. "But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. And he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself with what?" So, that's kind of wordy, but basically, God had instructed Daniel and his people not to eat certain foods. And a lot of these foods that they weren't supposed to eat were given to them by the king who had captured his country. It was the Babylonian king, and Israel was in captivity by Babylon, and Daniel and some of his friends were chosen to go into the king's court, and so they were given the king's food. And so Daniel prayed and chose not to eat the food and chose to obey God. And so back to Joshua. It's the verse, it's Joshua 24:15. "Choose for yourself. As for me and my family, we will worship the Lord." Joshua chose to serve God despite what other people did, and he chose to set the example because he was pretty much the leader of Israel at this time. And the last one is Esther. So she disobeyed the law and approached the king uninvited to save her people. She chose to obey God, even if it meant that she could be harmed in some way. And now we aren't have a king in our country, so it's not, we can't do that person. So she, basically the moral of that story is, she chose to put God before herself. And so all these people chose to obey God and have therefore set examples for us, which we are to follow. So I have something for you today. They're sweet tart CHEWS. And so remember, it's up to you to choose God.